That don't feel good.
Doesn't look good. I was going to say, do you mind if we say it doesn't look good?
We made it to Tasmania.
I literally was having like a panic attack just watching that. I was like,
That was the worst. That was absolutely terrifying. Oh, that's the worst track I've ever done in my life. Okay, we're back for attempt number 2 of the Lake Cumberland Track. The horrendous weather bailed us out the other day, so we're back again. We've got a crew of 5 coming up behind us, so we're trying to push a little bit. You come up off the road, the turn-up's only right near the climbing track. You go a few hundred metres up the hill, you can sort of choose your own fate of how hectic you want things to get on the ruts and tracks around. This looks a little bit interesting here now. Just navigate these rocks here. Yeah, I can feel it working better now. I just had a rear diff lock problem. It stopped working, but I've turned the car on and off and it seems to be back again now. So that's why I was struggling to get up early. You could see me spinning wheels everywhere. But on the rock side of there. Yeah, you come up off that main hill, then you hit the forest, then you got a rocky, ruddy, bumpy track crawling up through the rocks here. So we're taking on that now and we'll see how we go. Definitely low range, challenging track, but it's nothing too crazy so far. We got just myself and Tim today in his Navara as well. Dad left his MUX back in town. He just came for a drive with Tim after I towed him up the other day in the rain. He thought that he'd just maybe have a rest today because he thought he'd probably be struggling, his car being 32s unlocked, whereas we got 33s. Tim's twin locked and I got the rear locker and front traction control. But yeah, just beautiful track, like up through the bush here, cruising nice and slow, first gear, low range, just taking all these rocks, picking your lines, nice and steady. It wasn't much further and the track started to get harder very quickly. The place just turns into this rock garden to negotiate these monster boulders and ruts. There's not much room for movement out there at all, as you can see, and there's definitely no chicken tracks around things. squeak on.
Yeah. Squeak my way up the hill.
Tim did a little bit of investigating on the day to try and find out where that squeak was coming from in the front end of his car. Couldn't find anything, so didn't worry too much. But he had a look the next day when he got home, and turned out it was the rubber boot over the lower control arm ball joint had split and was full of mud from the Ring River track we did the day before. So it was just a quick replacement of that rubber, no major issues. Just packing in a few rocks now. It's amazing what packing in rocks in holes, what a difference it can make. But it's definitely challenging low range steering crawling up through here. These are big, pretty decent sized rocks, boulders and holes on the track you got to navigate. Definitely helps having bar work. I wouldn't come up here probably without rock sliders or bash plates. High risk of damage. Just keep in mind with all these tracks that the camera, like they say on 4-wheel drive action, the camera never does it justice, and it doesn't. Like the steepness you can't see, the size of the holes, rocks, rut steps you can't see. You just can't see it on camera. So, oh jeez. People come to these places seeing my videos and think, oh, you know, it's all sweet, it's nothing too hard, and then they get there and then it's completely different in real life. So just keep that in mind when you are watching these, that it looks a whole lot easier and tamer on camera. Yeah, I could sort of see what was going to happen. What are you, happy you didn't bring your car?
Yeah.
Fair obstacle course up here. This is like, this isn't insane, like we're not winching or anything.
Yeah.
But
It's the most hectic thing we've done so far.
definitely the most hectic track on the west coast.
Yeah.
And like, though you always get warnings about track, but half of the time they're not true. But this is the real deal.
Yeah.
can't come back. Am I on my rear bar? What's happening? You can see there, I've just jammed that rear diff on a rock. I can't go backwards. I don't really want to try and rev forward over it either, so I'm just going to gently winch the car forward off it rather than trying to break any diffs or anything up here. And so I was out with the first winch for the day. Just a quick easy pull up over that rock and it was all good again.
Bet you're glad you didn't come up here in the rain.
Tim was up next, and seeing me struggle with that line, he decided to try the other side. Tim managed to get up through there without any dramas, but then things got real interesting as we met the Lake Cumberland switchback. So we made it through to the big switchback. Come up the corner and look at this. So we got to drive up this rock garden and then hook up where par is. How do you even get up there? Look where that one goes up there. Is that an old track? How's that thing?
You know how slippery that's going to be. Your back tyres.
The worst is going to be getting up there to turn around. You reckon up the ruts? We need to maybe fill that rut up a bit where you're standing, I don't know.
And then...
You want to come give the dog a pat, Kai?
How far back are you guys? Oh, we can see you where we parked. So there's no rush because we've got people still coming up. So g'day Roscoe. Any cement trucks? Not yet. I think we might get one helicopter in. It's not going to feel great.
I'm going to put the passenger driver here, and then swing.
Yeah, because there's a bit of a bite there.
Okay, here we go up the Lake Cumberland switchback. This is terrifying. This is one. And installed it at the start.
Bunch of diff right there.
Is that on the diff?
Yeah. Yeah, that's better.
Thank you.
Yeah, perfect.
When do I turn?
It's really sharp. Like,
Not looking good. Not looking good from here.
It's crazy once you get a car on it.
Yeah.
But you can still try it. Like if you just into it now.
yeah, and then as you come forward, turn around further as you go. You'll stop that.
I'm just gonna end up jammed into that rock there.
I reckon if you're going to go up, you're going to put that rock in there.
Yeah. I need to turn earlier or go up there.
We could, like lock, yeah.
As you saw, we did initially try to turn straight into that switchback, but once you get a four-wheel drive on it, that honestly just looks completely insane. So the decision was made to pull out of that and head further up the track a little bit to where you could actually turn around and then come straight back down to that switchback. But getting up to that turnaround was an absolute nightmare, and that's got to be the worst bit of track right there.
You're getting really close to that bank there.
Do I need a winch from where I am now?
Yeah, if you want to come up into here and then back into there.
This is a horrible piece of track. Wow, this is gnarly out here. So I did try and come in and do a turn up into that switchback, but when you get there and you're looking at that, that is like, it just looks like a complete nuts. But then to get up here ahead and turn around to come back to it is another nightmare as well. How am I going to get around up there from here? So I need to like come back and put the passenger tyre on that rock and head up in there forwards. I can't, well, because once I go further, where am I going to end up back in the rocks in there somewhere? Yeah. So if I just lower myself back down and go over that way.
Go straight. I might have to change the wind position when you get any further.
Can I drive from here up there? You might have to re-hook me up. So we're stuck on the turnaround bit and we're going to try and... The thing is, there's like water running down this track. Like, it's just slippery, the ruts are deep, the rocks are big. So I'm going to winch up the turnaround bit and then I'll work out what I'm going to do after that. Is that going to pull that tree out?
Yeah, might have to go a bit lower maybe. The only big one around.
Things were just not going well for us. We tried a couple of different trees and both of them started to pull out of the ground, so I just had to try and drive it.
Just stay there for a second.
I finally made it up out of that rut where I could get to the turnaround point, but I just seemed to come into it at the wrong angle and then I was just slipping and sliding all over the place in there. Couldn't straighten up. Everywhere I tried to go, I just seemed to slide the opposite way and it was just not going well for us.
Yeah, if you go, so keep on that lock and just do everything real slowly. Keep on that lock.
By this point, I was just smashing my car left, right, centre on rocks, trees, and I thought we were going to be carrying out of there in pieces.
Yeah.
After I started to think I was never going to get out of there, we finally had a little bit of luck and things went our way.
That worked. It's on my spot, very nice. I don't have any weight.
Tim and I were both so stoked after the car seemed to just pick up a rock in the perfect spot, jam it into the rock slider, and then pivoted the back around to straighten me up again. What felt like a good 45 minutes just getting up to this point on the switchback, it was time to head back down and line myself up for the scariest bit of the track. That don't feel good.
Doesn't look good. I was going to say, do you mind if we say it doesn't look good?
My front passenger tyre going lower or higher now?
It's just about to start going.
It's going up? If it's going up, I should be right.
Left hand down a little bit.
So I'm slipping, so I'm gonna just like do it in one movement. Am I on the right lock for one movement?
Yeah, you are, yep.
Oh, that was the worst. That was absolutely terrifying. Oh, that's the worst track I've ever done in my life. Oh my god, I have a heart attack. That was horrifying. I'm like shaking. Oh my goodness. After all that, I was finally up. I couldn't believe it. And now it was Tim's turn. Where were you guys thinking of turning up?
We were going to high side that rock.
So bring the driver's tyre up on that rock. So we had the plan of getting him further over to the edge of the track. That way he could make the turn up into the switchback, but that was pretty tricky getting him over there as well. We had to do a bit of track building. Yep. Now we'll go home. Maybe not so much. Yeah. Well, that didn't really do him any better than my attempt, and there's still no way he was going to be able to turn up into that switchback from there. With one tail light missing, we now had to try and straighten him back up so we could come forward up the track again. At this point, we're all standing there scratching our heads wondering what to do, and then one of the boys came up with the idea of getting right back out of there and reversing all the way back up to the switchback, because at this point we figured you could not turn into it, and Tim didn't want to go back up where I was and spend 45 minutes up there trying to turn around and mucking around. So here goes the Lake Cumberland reverse switchback method.
Very close.
That was
Good effort.
Nice work. Couple of backwards.
Yeah, we just put a little bit of weight at that back driver.
Thanks for the weight on the side, guys. That made all the difference.
That's alright.
I couldn't, because I was on an angle too, I couldn't get my seat like,
Oh, yeah.
so I didn't want to go over and land on the roof.
We still got to get back down this.
How'd you go going backwards?
Dude, that you couldn't do that again if you tried.
Yeah.
That was insane.
Yeah, pivoted, picked that rock up and then spun the car around.
Like the slider, where the slider bracket was, like it picked the rock up tall ways, and then you span on it, and then you drove forward and the rock dropped back down again. It's like,
Those sliders are strong,
mm.
and like I sat the whole way to the car in the middle of them coming down the rock. After that horrifying experience for everyone was over, we continued up the track to try and get up the top of Lake Cumberland for quite a late lunch at this stage. Now, unless you've been there in person, it's very hard to understand the switchback and the angle it puts your car on. It's got to be one of the worst angles I've ever been on four-wheel driving, and out your passenger window you're just looking at a big drop-off down onto rocks. You could see our rear wheel lifting in the air as we were trying to come up into it. Now, it's not a very big wheel lift, but the problem is your whole car is already tipping so far to one side that as soon as a wheel starts to lift, it just feels like the whole thing's about to go over.
We're up the top of all that bush. We've come out into the sunshine and just these beautiful mountain views around you. I haven't seen the lake yet, but I think we're all clear. Got this bit of a mud hole to negotiate here because the main track is concave, so we gotta get through this mud, and I think we're just about clear.
At this point, we thought we were all clear. It was time to get down to the lake, have a swim, have some lunch. But the track still had one very nasty hill climb to throw at us yet.
Pull over that. Yeah, straighten up a bit more. Yeah, shoot it back.
I tried multiple times to get up that hill, but I could just not do it. And once again, I was just starting to bash my car around, and I was worried I was about to break something. There was literally nothing to winch off up the top of that hill, it was just flat shrubs, so I had to reverse back down so Tim could have a crack at it with his twin lockers and see if he could get up there. Now that Tim was up, I was able to have another go. Didn't make it, but I was able to use the back of his car as a winch point now to get me up. And then we were finally up the top and arrived at the spectacular Lake Cumberland.
Made up the top of Lake Cumberland Track. Wow, what a drive that was up there. That took us about 4 hours to get from the bottom. It's not long, probably a K and a half or something, 2 Ks, but that is one hectic track coming up there. When you come out on the top, we got like still sunny, perfect weather, and you got this spectacular view out over the lake. It is an awesome place up here. Without a doubt, one of the tougher tracks I've ever driven. Ended up having to winch 3 times coming up there. Well, once was just a bit of unlucky line. I caught the diff, and then I went all the weird and wacky crazy way trying to get around that, and then yeah, I just couldn't drive up that bit up there, and Tim could, so he drove up and I winched off the back of his vehicle. It's an almighty place to come to once you make it up here though. And then we got to get back down the way we came up. There's only one way up here. We're going down, won't be as bad. It's still going to be tricky negotiating that switchback back down though. Can't come to Lake Cumberland and not have a swim in the lake.
It's not that cold.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Even though the track up to the top is just absolutely insane, it's got to be one of the greatest places you will ever come to in your four-wheel drive. That lake up the top with those mountains all around you, it's just absolutely stunning. After we soaked in the sights and the sun up the top for a while, had a swim, had some lunch, it was time to get back out of there, and there's only one way out, the way we came up.
Okay, here we go, back down the scary bit. Can you line me up with left or right? Yeah, going back down this scary bit here. Tim's out there giving me left or right. There's definitely an obstacle. It's not as bad going down, but it's still not nice. That back wheel's starting to lift now, I can feel it.
Stay on that lock behind.
It don't feel good. How long till I start to come down on my passenger side?
Your driver's going to start coming up now.
Yeah.
That way, just, oh, yeah, yep, there.
Through the worst.
This does not feel good. No sudden braking. Very slow. I'm going alright?
Yep, your passenger's coming down now. Now give it that way a little bit.
The plan is we'll just come straight down and nose up in and then reverse back down, because anything else is just not good.
Yeah, and then you'll be putting back up in there again.
Having fun, Kai? I'm terrified. Oh, another fun day forward driving. Oh.
Well, then why did you go up this track?
Oh yeah, who knows? Who knows?
Straighten up a little bit now, Nick.
That actually worked pretty well. Never had any dramas at all, apart from the fact that it was absolutely terrifying. Tim was up next.
Oh, yeah, he's far up.
Like what mine was. You're coming down at the back here. Yeah, you're good. They're going to put a little bit of weight down here so you can down. Yeah, that line. All you can do now is just hold that line and hope for the best.
That rock's about 2 inches. That rock's in there.
Yeah, you're going to start feeling better from now on. Yeah. You're coming up over those rocks there. There you go. Yeah, that's it. You're evening out. And now straighten up. Yeah. Bit more. Yeah. And now right hand down a bit. Yeah. Yeah. Perfect.
Past that big rock there.
I want to go past it, right?
Yeah, past it. And you go and good at that, stay on that rock. Yeah. Straighten up a bit.
And we'd finally done it. We're back down the switchback. Now we just had the rest of the track to negotiate out. We pretty much had Dad walk out beside us the whole way down and guide us just to limit the amount of rocks we were smashing on our way down. I found going down quite hard as well, as you couldn't see over your bonnet so far in front of you down the steep track, and you just couldn't really negotiate those rocks by yourself without someone guiding you. We made it down the bottom. Wow, what a trek and day. It was a lot easier coming back down, but even coming down was still pretty full on. Took us 4 hours to get up that track this morning, but you know, we sort of mucked around helping those other guys a little bit and filming and all that, and coming down was only sort of half hour, 40 minutes, a lot quicker coming down. But a little bit of car bashing today. I ripped both mud flaps off. I think that's the only really damage I've done. Definitely a few rock sliders, got a massive workout. Underbody bash plates got a massive workout. There's a few more dints on the chassis and various bits and pieces, but all in all, good day out. I'm glad we conquered Lake Cumberland. What a track. All back at camp, set up and relaxed after a big day on the tracks. We started Lake Cumberland Track 10:30ish this morning. We didn't get out of there till it was nearly 5:30 by the time we got up, which was a mission. And then we spent probably an hour and a half, 2 hours up the top nearly, like soaking it in. And then yeah, it wasn't too bad coming back down. Just camped on the outskirts of Zion again tonight, since we got this pretty awesome spot here. You know, beautiful afternoon, sun coming in here. Now begins the mission of, oh, that sun's in my eyes, sorting out all the footage, camera gear, recharging everything, putting it, backing it all up and getting it all ready for the next day. So I got to get footage off the GoPro 8, which sits on my dash for the dash recording, the GoPro 7 for the outside GoPro shots, the main camera I'm filming on, which is a Sony a6300, has a Rode Video Mic Pro up on it. Charge up my Sony batteries, charge up the drone battery. The drone's a DJI Mavic Air. I'm using 2 hard drives for this trip. I'm backing everything up because if I lose the footage from the trip, I'll cry. And then I'll just use the MacBook Pro to put it all onto the hard drives, get it all off, clear it all up, sort all my footage out from the day. And then this is a new fold out solar blanket, Safari Global, one I'm using for this trip, 300 watt. Fold out solar blanket. I've set up some of the arvos when we come to camp, especially when I got a lot of camera gear to charge. When I'm not charging heaps of camera gear, it's not too bad. When I got to run the inverter, the 1200 watt inverter, just chews through the power. So I set this up and try and run the inverter while this is charging. So I use the inverter to charge the laptop and the drone battery, and then I can charge my other and then the fridge is always running, and the awning's got a camp light I run at night, which doesn't use much. And then I've got some outlets in the tub. Actually, I'll quickly run through the dual battery system I'm using for this trip. So you can't see it, but I'm running a kick-ass dual battery setup in the nav behind the back seat. So I've got a 120 amp hour slimline battery, which just manages to fit in behind the back seat, which you can pull out, put that in. The DC 25 amp charger is behind there as well. And then off that, I'm running a 1200 watt inverter. So the inverter's in under the seat there, 1200 watt kick-ass inverter. You can see up in there I got like the laptop and drone chargers plugged into that all the time. With what I do, it's not about trying to be neat and perfect, about being practical. I'm constantly charging gear, so I need read access all the time. And then the kick-ass inverter comes with a digital controller here. So if you switch that powers up your inverter. And then you got your battery life. So the battery's at 12.7 amps. So that's pretty much about max now. It's going to get up around 12.8 or something when it gets a bit more solar in it. And then you can run it down to about 12, which is about 50%. You can only use about 50% of these deep cycle batteries. And then there's output as well, which I can change that to how much output. It's not, the inverter's not putting out any power at the moment. And then in the back I've got the Waco 50 litre fridge, which has lived in the back of this ute and the old ute for probably nearly 4 years in total, bashed around through all sorts of weather and everything, and still works. And then in the tub I've got a dual USB outlet there I can charge camera gear on, and 2 12 volt outlets there I can plug stuff into and charge camera gear on as well. So I'm mainly relying on, driving, which charges up the dual battery system during the day. But then I got the solar blanket if I need that extra power at camp for the Arvo, or if we're set up for a couple nights. Set up the blanket, then I'm set to go for as long as I want. Keep that fridge running, keep all the camera gear charged up, cook a little bit of dinner now, light the fire and settle in for the night. Do you want to be on fire lighting duties, Kai? Do you cinch just laying in there in the swag? Actually, the other cool thing about that solar blanket I didn't say is it has its own controller in behind the back seat that bypasses the DC-DC charger, so it charges directly onto the battery through the controller for it, and it all links up to this app here. Now it's not getting much in at the moment because we're coming on 8:30 at night, that sun's about to go down, but it gives you how much, voltage, current, what your battery's on and what's going on and everything. It's just Bluetooth, so you just click on it, go on there at any time. I had a little bit of extra footage that I thought I'd throw in at the end here. One of the other guys behind us trying to come up straight after us at the switchback there at Cumberland in his Land Cruiser. He took the same approach as what Tim had, where he reversed up to it and then attempted to come at it straight on, but watching that big Land Cruiser with all that weight in the back just didn't look good, and when his front wheel started to lift, we honestly all thought he was going to tip over.
You need to spin the back around more. So go forward, right hand down, and then you come back. Not being like that.
Oh, it's tipping.
Now you want to calm that lock, don't you?
There you go, bend that stand down. Bit more left hand down, Simone. Left hand down a bit. Yeah, yep. That's it. A bit dark too much. He's got to come another half a foot down before he went up then.
Yeah.
You want rock on that back wheel?
He probably needs rocks under his back passenger wheel in that hole there.
What about these tracks, Kyle? Will they stack high enough?
Yeah, put those rocks in that hole.
Probably 80
That'll just, because your front drivers are starting to lift, that'll help keep that front drivers on the ground. I'll just be careful about standing anywhere there. He's about to drop down here, which is going to make it feel worse for him again.
After a few attempts and some track building and various things, he just made the decision, which I think was a very smart choice, to just get back out of there because things were looking very dangerous for him.
Cutting on the slip down that bank, but he's still got a while to go yet. It's not the top of that bank.
So, get out of the way.
Oh, that's alright.
So, I need to out of the way.
Yep, I like it. Angry bird.
It was just on that point.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
It was just a sudden upwards. Back down.
I'm alright.
What a crack over there.
I think it was just a lease or a spring or something.
Charge your camera gear of lights. Camera gear of lights. Charge your run your cam lights overnight.